My name is Patti Tototzintle, and I am the president and CEO of Esperanza United, formerly known as Casa de Esperanza. I'm passionate about mobilizing Latinas, Latinos, Latinxes, and to end gender-based violence. That's what I work on day in and day out as the president and CEO of the organization Esperanza United. It was founded as Casa de Esperanza in 1982 by a group of badass, persevering Latinas, a small group that said, you know, this is enough. Latinas are not being served in our community around the issues of domestic violence. So they started an emergency shelter in St. Paul. It's the smallest shelter, domestic violence shelter, in the Twin Cities, and that shelter still exists today. We have since grown into the largest, most respected Latina organization in the country, focused on ending gender-based violence. And we continue to ground our work in the community and the community's strengths and wisdom as we serve Latinas and Latino communities locally and across the country. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 3, look around the room, 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. That's a national statistic. In Minnesota, the same average exists. This is whether I'm Latina or any other community, around 1 in 3 women, and that's a general statistic, so some may experience a higher statistic. So the number may be the same, but that doesn't mean the experiences, the realities, and the solutions are the same. Esperanza United's Latina Advocacy Framework provides the foundation for how best to work with Latina survivors and communities in order to gain safety, connectedness, and self-sufficiency. And one of the women that was part of creating that Latina Advocacy Framework is here. Rosario de la Torre is a badass Latina. She is one of our directors at Esperanza United. We do it all by providing family advocacy to the Latino communities in the 7-county metropolitan area and beyond, working with entire communities to prevent gender-based violence. We engage families, we engage men, we engage boys, and we engage girls. On a systems level, we work with service providers nationwide to make sure that they are working in the best way, culturally relevant ways, to serve Latino communities. We elevate the voices and realities of Latino communities through research and evaluation that promotes social justice in the field of domestic violence and sexual assault. And we work to make sure that policies nationwide are responsive to the needs and realities of Latino communities. And that is damn hard work. Why do I want people to join me in power? We have learned that we are not the ones as an organization to end domestic violence. And we know that systems are not the answer, and organizations aren't the answer. They're part of the solution. But domestic violence will end because when communities end domestic violence. And so that's how we work. That's our theory of change, and that's why we need everybody. We need parents. As our studies have shown, parents are still the most influential sources in a youth, child, or even teens reality and experience. They help, and they will help or hurt how teens, in how teens actually build relationships as they get older. We need policymakers like the ones who are leaving, and we need them replaced. We need policymakers who will improve and expand the protections for all survivors. Again, all survivors. We need donors that will support our initiatives as well as other initiatives that address issues of violence against women and others. We need friends who are willing to have those difficult conversations when they see someone who's dealing, or they know someone who's dealing with violence in their lives. How do you be a friend that shows up, not a friend that judges? We need men who will, of course, challenge harmful narratives when they hear them, and actually challenge and get out of the man box and not deal with the man code, break it. We need service providers to challenge themselves and their institutions to better serve culturally specific communities. And we need members of the media, and I'm looking at Mickey and others. We need members of the media, like the Strong Women's Press, that will really tell all of the stories, telling our stories and sharing our truths with unflinching candor. So, what can you do to be a badass? We need everyone, again, and that means everyone in this room and beyond, to really share how you can support organizations like Esperanza and the work that we do, as well as others. There are a lot in this community, a lot of organizations that do this precious kind of work. I'm here to tell you that standing against gender-based violence is the ultimate chingona move. So there are a couple of chingonas in this room, and if you want to know what that means, it's really a Chicano term for badass. And so I'm proud to be a chingona, I really am. And I'm here to tell you that standing against gender-based violence is exactly what you can do. This work is very hard. I've been with my organization for 20 years. I never thought when I went in that I would be there for 20 years. 6 years was always my max. And here I am, 20 years later. I just celebrated on April Fool's Day. When we started, people said that we were family destroyers, but we persevered. And now it's been 40 years as an organization, and the work is still hard, and it's still important, but it's in different ways today. Ours is a feminist story of triumph and hard work and continued struggle. Our story is a Latina leadership story. We keep at it because we know our vision of a community free from gender-based violence is possible. And I invite you to join me. Thank you.